On the afternoon of February 9, 2004, Maura Murray left her dorm room at the University of Massachusetts Amherst. She emailed her professors. She said there had been a death in the family. She would be gone for a few days. There was no death. Maura packed some clothes. She withdrew cash from an ATM. She bought alcohol. And then she got into her car. She didn't tell her friends where she was going. She didn't tell her family. There was no destination written down. No note explaining why. Just a car heading north. Late that afternoon, Maura's Saturn was seen driving through rural New Hampshire. Small towns. Two-lane roads. Snow on the ground. At 7:27 p.m., the car crashed on Route 112 near Woodsville. It wasn't a violent crash. The airbags deployed. The front end was damaged. But the car was still close to the road. A neighbor heard the sound. When he looked outside, he saw a young woman standing near the vehicle. She was alone. The neighbor asked if she needed help. Maura said no. He offered to call the police. She said she already had. That was a lie. She was seen walking around the car. Opening the trunk. Looking at the damage. No one saw panic. No one saw blood. No one saw signs of a serious injury. Just a young woman standing in the cold, next to a broken car. A bus driver passed by. He slowed down. He asked if everything was okay. Maura told him help was on the way. He drove on. At 7:46 p.m., police were dispatched. When they arrived just minutes later, the car was there. Maura was not. There were no footprints leading into the woods. No footprints walking down the road. No signs of a struggle. The doors were locked. The airbags had deployed. Her belongings were inside. But Maura was gone. Police searched the area immediately. They walked the road. They searched the nearby woods. They checked houses. Nothing. No one reported seeing her walk away. No passing driver remembered picking someone up. No trail appeared in the snow. It was as if she had vanished in the minutes between the crash and the arrival of police. Her family was notified. They drove to New Hampshire. They walked the same road. They looked into the same trees. Days turned into weeks. Weeks into years. Search dogs followed a scent briefly down the road. Then stopped. Some believed she accepted a ride. Others believed she ran into the woods. Some believed she planned to disappear. But there was no proof. No confirmed sighting. No evidence that ever explained what happened next. Just a car. A quiet road. And a young woman who should have been there when help arrived. But wasn't. What unsettled investigators was not just Maura's disappearance. It was how ordinary the scene looked. The car wasn't abandoned in a remote forest. It was on a public road. Near homes. Within sight of passing vehicles. This wasn't a place where someone could easily vanish. Inside the car, her belongings were still there. Clothes. School books. Personal items. Nothing suggested she had planned to walk far. There was alcohol in the car. An open container. Something that might explain why she refused police help. But it didn't explain where she went. In the days before the crash, Maura's life had been unstable. She was under academic pressure. She had recently been involved in another car accident. She was juggling responsibilities, expectations, and exhaustion. People who knew her described someone overwhelmed, but not someone planning to disappear forever. There was no history of running away. No note. No pattern of cutting contact. And yet, on that road, she vanished completely. Search teams returned again and again. They searched woods, fields, riverbanks. They found nothing. What remained were questions without edges. If she ran into the woods, why were there no tracks? If she accepted a ride, who picked her up? And why was no one ever identified? The timeline was tight. Just minutes. Too short for planning. Too long for coincidence. And in that narrow window, Maura Murray was lost. Not in a dramatic way. Not violently. But quietly. On a road where someone should have seen something. But didn't. In the hours after Maura disappeared, police treated the scene as a missing person case. There was no sign of foul play. No evidence of a crime. No witnesses who saw her leave the area. Search teams were deployed quickly. They walked the road in both directions. They searched nearby woods. They brought in tracking dogs. One dog followed a scent briefly east along Route 112. Then it stopped. The trail ended in the middle of the road. To some investigators, this suggested Maura may have entered another vehicle. To others, it meant nothing at all. Searches expanded. Helicopters scanned from above. Volunteers combed the terrain. Still nothing. Police interviewed neighbors. They checked passing vehicles. They reviewed timelines. No one could say with certainty what happened in the minutes between the bus driver leaving and police arriving. The case grew colder not because it was forgotten, but because there was nothing new to follow. No evidence moves. No clear direction. Just absence. Over time, theories began to form. The first was simple. Maura panicked. She was intoxicated. She didn't want police involved. So she ran into the woods. But this theory raised questions. The snow should have shown tracks. The terrain was difficult. The night was cold. Searches found nothing. Another theory suggested she accepted a ride. A passing driver. A local. Someone who never came forward. This explained the lack of footprints. It explained how she vanished so quickly. But it required one thing. Someone who picked her up, and was never identified. There was also the idea that Maura planned to disappear. That she intended to leave her life behind. But this theory struggled with the evidence. Her belongings were left behind. There was no preparation. No money trail. No confirmed sightings. Each theory explained part of the mystery. None explained all of it. And so the case remained suspended between possibilities. Years passed. Maura's family never stopped searching. They returned to New Hampshire. They organized searches. They followed leads. None led to answers. The road stayed the same. The houses remained. Cars continued to pass by every day. People still ask how someone could vanish from such a visible place. How no one saw anything. How no trace was ever found. There are cases where violence leaves marks. And cases where accidents leave evidence. This case left neither. Just a narrow window of time. A quiet road. And questions that refuse to close. Maura Murray remains missing. And the moment she disappeared remains frozen. Between help offered. And help arriving. Then nothing. After years of investigation, one explanation continues to surface. Not because it is dramatic. But because it requires the fewest assumptions. Maura may have accepted a ride. The timing allows it. The absence of footprints supports it. The scent trail ending in the road suggests it. A passing vehicle. Someone who stopped briefly. Someone who saw a stranded young woman and offered help. This theory does not require planning. It does not require disappearance by design. Only a decision made in minutes. A decision she may have believed was safe. If that happened, everything else becomes unknowable. Where she went. Who she was with. What happened next? There would be no witnesses. No evidence at the scene. No trace left behind. Just a moment of trust. And then the road returns to normal. What troubles people most is not how Maura vanished. It is where. This was not wilderness. This was not isolation. This was a road with houses. With traffic. With visibility. Someone should have seen something. But no one did. And that absence has allowed the case to fracture. Into theories. Into debates. Into endless speculation. Each new idea promises clarity. None delivers closure. Years later, people still walk that road. They stand where the car was found. They look into the trees. And they imagine the minutes they cannot see. The space between one decision. And everything that followed. There are cases where the end is clear. This is not one of them. Maura Murray left her dorm room. She drove north. She crashed her car. She spoke to strangers. And then she disappeared. No confirmed sighting. No physical evidence. No explanation that holds. Only a moment suspended in time. Between leaving and arriving. Between being seen and being gone. The road remains. The questions remain. And Maura Murray remains missing. Then nothing.